Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about Donald Trump's going into crazed overdrive about Jeb Boasberg and Boasberg's insistence that he will actually determine whether or not the administration violated the order he issued at an emergency hearing when he said, don't deport these people, and if there are planes in the air, turn them around. And then in general, just making all kinds of efforts to get him off the case, appeal, etc. Let me first tell you where the case is, because it's a little confusing. There are two different things happening. One is that Boasberg entered a temporary restraining order, and that typically provides that he's got 14 days during which to hear the case and decide whether or not to make that temporary restraining order into a temporary injunction, or even move to summary judgment to actually rule on the merits, this is or not, that the order, and again, we're talking about the proclamation under the Alien Enemies Act, that was the purported basis for deporting a couple hundred Venezuelan citizens, whether that order is lawful. Now, he entered that on that Saturday, and today you'll hear about the DC Circuit hearing a case, and that is this case, but it's on the merits, and not really, even because, as I mentioned, typically you have a district court after a TRO is ordered, 2 weeks, but there are rare circumstances in which a court of appeals can reach down and accept an emergency appeal. An emergency is the only speed that this administration seems to have. They're doing it in the Supreme Court now today about the holdings of the Ninth Circuit and a district court in Maryland over probationary employees. Anyway, they've asked for an emergency appeal, and the Court of Appeals will hear it today. Now, that Court of Appeals panel, just to continue on this a little to keep you informed, is a pretty favorable one for Trump. It's got a Trump appointee and a longtime judge on the court who seems very, very deferential to things involving the executive and national security based on her previous rulings. And then a third judge who is unlikely to be sympathetic. Anyway, the question will be really, how serious do they take this emergency setting? They're really ought to, at this point, just say, no, we're not going to do this crazy fire alarm. Come to us after Boasberg rules. That's on the merits. Then separately, Boasberg has fought for a week calmly, or at least judiciously, but with obvious irritation, as the administration has again and again and again and again refused or rebuffed or bobbed and weaved or obfuscated his orders to give him information from which he can determine if the administration violated his order last, now it's about 9 days, and he's just not letting up on it. And they have, first said, oh, you have no right to intervene and look into this, really, into whether his orders were violated. I think he does. Then they suggested that orders weren't violated, but they wouldn't say why. Then they suggested that orders weren't violated because they determined that the planes taking the Venezuelans were in international space, and it really almost sounded like they were, playing chicken with the judge and sending them out right away once they, got the order. And then the written order that followed the oral order came as they're in international space. Just a couple things first. it's irrelevant. He absolutely has power when the planes are in international space over the people who are commanding them, the administration officials, to say order them back. So that's for sure. And then second, really funky and squirrely. What, they were ignoring the oral order? What was in place until the written order was this oral order. Couldn't have been more clear. Turn the planes around, and now they're saying it's the written order that matters. So is that suggesting that an oral, very emphatic order from the judge, they just completely ignored? Now, Boasberg is absolutely determined to get the facts there. And the most recent thing they said is, well, these facts, we're talking like, when did the planes take off? Who was in the administration talking about not following the orders and the like. Some of this stuff is already public, but they've varied from saying, "Oh, this is so silly, so picayune, let it go, judge," to saying, "Oy vey, it would violate state secrets if we had to give up this stuff." And it's you can't casually invoke state secrets. And he has now told them, "You tell me by tomorrow. Are you going to invoke state secrets?" They had said before, "Oh, it takes us a while to figure it out. And here are some other things you must tell me by Tuesday." And this is their sort of fourth or fifth chance. But the main thing is, Boasberg is not backing down, and they're trying really hard. I have a Substack today that really commends Boasberg. It'd be easy for him to back down. They are really coming after him. They've introduced articles of impeachment. Trump allies have taken off after Boasberg's wife and daughter, which anyone should know is off limits. And then here's what Trump calls for his impeachment on Tuesday, prompting, or either Tuesday or Wednesday, prompting an immediate and singular, unique, I've never seen it before, statement from the Chief Justice saying you cannot use impeachment because you don't agree with an order, take it up on appeal. But he can't stop himself, nor can Elon Musk. Elon Musk makes maximum contributions to the congressmen who are trying to impeach Boasberg and other judges. And here's the charming missive around midnight from Trump last night. "This judge is almost as conflicted, actually not even close, ! As the judge whose daughter made millions of dollars representing Biden-Harris against me, while her father presided over a fake case against me and refused to recuse himself." It sounds like he's saying stuff about Boasberg, but the sentence is saying that other judge, and I think he's thinking about Mayor Chun, wasn't even as conflicted as Boasberg. He should be disbarred. Again, it's not clear whether he's talking about Boasberg in that or Mayor Chun, but it doesn't matter. He's railing on and on. And you have at the same time the administration in the press, but also the really beating the war drums about Boasberg. And they got the wrong guy here. He is totally respected within the judiciary. He is a total rule of law guy. He roomed with Brett Kavanaugh at Yale Law School and has ruled against, Democrats, ruled against Republicans, etc. But they are really, trying. It just shows that you can get a vilification campaign against anyone if you can try to get it against him. And it's all lies, of course, as always. That's the stock in trade. But the people don't know that. A radical leftist, as Trump calls them, what does that mean? Who can say otherwise? You just gin up this vicious attack, and now you have everybody, all these Republican members in Congress, saying he's legislating from the bench, and they don't have the slightest idea what that means. It's not true. What he's doing is, in the case, is applying the statute because Trump has invoked it. but you got to be either at war or a predatory incursion by a foreign country, and the presence of some members of a gang in the states doesn't seem to qualify too much. And you got to be sure you got that. What about people who say they're not in the gang? They gave them no notice, sent them down. So there's the DC Circuit, as I mentioned, which is hearing an emergency appeal. It has held that in general you have to keep your hands off these determinations, except when it comes to the actual construction of the statute, etc. So it strikes me at the end of the day, first, that it's gonna be legitimate, and he's gonna be permitted to make these absolutely classic kinds of judicial determinations, like, are all these people subject to the order, or in fact are some of them not even in this gang? Second, can you use this order only invoked 3 times during war to get at the presence in the states of some of these members of a gang, when the statute says it's got to be a predatory incursion by a foreign country? That stuff, I do not see that the Court of Appeals saying, oh, he can't even order. And then this other, they're going to completely do everything they can to struggle and keep from answering the questions. And I think we are really fortunate that Boasberg is keeping with this. They're making his life miserable. They're harassing his daughter, his wife, and he could easily just drop it. But he is saying, no, right here, right now, it's time. Play your cards, administration. Are you purposely violating court orders? And if they have here, it's better to have that showdown now than later. Better to have it with Judge Boasberg, who has all the respect, and going up to the Supreme Court. And even the Supreme Court is going to pull out the rug from under him. Better even to know that now than later, because it'll leave clear there's even fewer tools, but we gotta use them all we can, including basically popular opposition. Okay, so really, Boasberg's not backing down and going away. Trump continues to absolutely vilify him with a whole set of demagogic irrelevancies and lies. Same thing with his allies. But Boasberg will push forward, and then on the merits, just to keep it clean and separate, the DC Circuit will consider this afternoon whether Boasberg could have granted that initial TRO last Saturday. So this is going to work out and could be the dispute that comes to loggerheads between the judiciary and the administration. And if it is, I like it, because I think the argument that a judge has to consider these questions is strong, and because Boasberg is a guy who's got respect across the aisles, up and down the judiciary, including DC Circuit and Supreme Court, and it's about the best position. And third, because better to do this now than later, after the administration has aggregated yet more power, and we are left in the dark. If this is the fight to be had, and it's the fight that defines a constitutional crisis, better to have that exposed right now and understand the battle that's in front of us. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.